Lore Together is proud to be part of the Boss Rush Games Network. Feel free to find out more at bossrushgames.com/network. Hi, I'm Sapphy.
And I'm Mystic.
And this is Lore Together. This is the podcast where a husband and wife duo go over all of the storytelling, world building, and characters in video games because it's what we like to do together. We lore together.
Yeah, and this is episode 40, and I don't know what we're doing. This is a Sapphy episode.
I did let everybody know who's in our Discord with Boss Rush Games. P.S. Go to the Discord for Boss Rush Games, and that's where you'll find our chat channel where I am chatting with everybody, as well as all the other lovely ways to get in contact with us.
You can do that on Twitter at LoreTogether, on Instagram at LoreTogether, through email at LoreTogether@gmail.com. And if you'd like to support this podcast, you can do so by going to patreon.com/LoreTogether, where you can pay a per-episode pledge to get early access to episodes, mini-episodes, Q&As, and other things we may be doing in the future.
But Mystic needed a little extra time for work. And I was thinking about doing this topic anyway. We're going back to the universe. Now, Mystic, you know which universe we're going back to, right?
I glimpsed the wiki, like the fact you were on the Fallout wiki.
Yes.
I did not see what you were. I just kind of recognized it from, the wiki is a fan wiki, so.
Yeah.
But I don't know what we're doing inside of Fallout.
Any guess whatsoever?
It's too broad for me to narrow down to one guess.
Yeah, I know. They're pretty big universes. All right. Today, we're looking at not necessarily one character that you'll find in Fallout, but a type of character.
Ghouls?
Specifically a companion. They're not human.
Dog.
They're seemingly along for the ride. And they occasionally are really good at fetch.
Dog. All right, cool.
Yes, we're taking a look at the dogs that join the main characters throughout the Fallout series. Now, specifically the ones that are companions throughout the series. So this is going to be a little bit shorter than our usual episode, unless we have a lot to riff on. But otherwise, even though I wanted to do this for a while, this is actually initially inspired by the long tweet we reshared on June 27th about a good girl named River. Joel Burgess, who had worked on Fallout 4, had brought in River to be an antidote to his main concern with the companion Dogmeat. That concern was the focus on developing Dogmeat as a canine weapon and not as a character and a companion. The day that Joel saw a new member of the team developing Dogmeat using snarls and attack positions of German Shepherds as a reference was the day that he decided to bring his dog, River, in.
And what is River?
She is a German Shepherd.
Okay.
I should say she was. Unfortunately, the tweet on June 27th was in remembrance.
Oh.
For she is no longer of this plane. She is now where all the good boys and girls go after they're gone. So
that's sad.
It is very sad. And he specifically wanted to talk about her help on Fallout on the Twitter rather than because he said it was a distraction from mourning, which I can completely understand.
Mm-hmm.
So River was brought in not to just be understood for a realistic visual and voice acting, which it was her yips and barks that were recorded, for Dogmeat in Fallout 4, but to help to bring a realistic personality to Dogmeat. By becoming a German Shepherd who bonded with the team, she became the source of inspiration for giving Dogmeat a well-rounded character with the instincts and natural charm that comes with a dog who is bonded with you.
Right.
So
Fallout 4 did have a better Dogmeat personality-wise, I think, than the other games.
Part of it was the tech was there to give it a bit more of expressiveness, but part of it was Joel Burgess really pushing this idea that they're not just an attack weapon,
Right.
They
do kind of force Dogmeat on you in Fallout 4, though.
To be honest, it feels like it for everyone.
Oh, does it? Okay, yeah. I don't remember 3 that much. I remember you had to go recruit Dogmeat in 3 by going to...
We'll get to it. We're going to go over all the good boys and girls.
Okay.
Which most of them are Dogmeats, which is the main canine companion found throughout the franchise. But I do want to make mention of the original inspiration for a dog. The idea of the dog himself was inspired by the dog found in the second Mad Max movie with Mel Gibson, a.k.a. Mad Max, the Road Warrior.
Really? Okay, I remember hearing it was a boy and his dog.
Well, I'm going to get to it.
Oh, okay.
This actually influenced the breed of Dogmeat in Fallout 1, 2, and 3, where he's modeled off an Australian cattle dog, also known as a blue heeler.
Okay.
So the Fallout 3 version even had the heterochromia found commonly in the breed as well, the two different eye colors. So, however, the name is actually from the story originally written by Harlan Ellison titled A Boy and His Dog.
Okay, yay.
Yeah, see, yeah, there you go. You knew something. Although the dog that follows the young, violent protagonist Vic is named Blood, in the story, Vic also calls him Dogmeat. The 1969 novella was then turned into a movie in 1975.
Oh, it was a movie, actually. I didn't remember it being I just heard about it being a book. So
yeah, it was originally a book, and then shortly after, it was turned into a movie. Jesse Hennig admitted that this movie inspired a lot of the setting in Fallout. It's also a story about surviving a post-apocalyptic landscape in a radiated United States full of mutants and underground communities. Please note that the subject matter in the book is extremely violent and upsetting before you read it. In fact, I would suggest, it is very mature in the way that it discusses, even though the protagonist is a teenager, there are very awful things that he does and happen in the story.
Who is this by again?
Harlan Ellison.
Names ring a bell.
Famous sci-fi author.
Okay.
But
Sitting on the Edge of Forever, right?
I believe so. It's one of those books that I'm sure is a great work, but one you may have to read the synopsis to decide if you can handle it. The protagonist is definitely not a good person, nor is he truly redeemed by the ending. There's
really a boy and his dog, and that's not what I would have expected, honestly.
It's kind of a play on the idea. Like, the boy and his dog is such an innocent term.
Okay.
But it's really a story about a violent teenager left to his own devices, not being taught how to act because society has fallen, with a telepathic, intelligent dog, and they're helping each other not only survive, but commit acts of violence, including violence against women. So you have to know that that's the kind of story you're going to be reading and that you're okay with it. I don't even get into Game of Thrones because of it's a similar level of violence, I would say. And some people can handle that, and that's fine. And I'd also say it's a book of its time because it's showing that it's awful, but it's not couching it with a counterpoint. But also, I think this is around the same time where there was the fear of nuclear war. Was still this is still during the Cold War.
Okay.
So
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So this is it's kind of a very extreme version of fear mongering from what I can tell. But I just wanted to say that because we are a family friendly podcast. I didn't want anybody to say, oh, let me just read this. If you read this, it might ruin your day. It's not, it's just one of those. But in the original Fallout, getting back to the subject, in the original Fallout that was released in September 30th, 1997, you will find the original Dogmeat terrorizing Old Man Phil at his home outside of Junktown. The previous owner was a man wearing an all-black leather ensemble and had been killed by thugs hired by a casino owner, Gizmo, approximately a month before you encounter him with Phil. So you might remember Gizmo's like one of the big power wielders in the original Fallout series. Mystic is shaking his head like, again, I don't know anything.
To go back to our episode on Arcanum, this era of computer RPGs was not one I played.
Right.
And it's one that's hard for me to go back to. I do intend to, though.
Yeah, and I can understand it. It was hard for me to play it when we did the live stream. Gizmo is one of the main baddies that you can work for or against in the beginning of the game.
That sounds typical for the genre.
Yes. So,
in fact, your stream ended on that with Arcanum, didn't it? Where you could
yes,
for or against. Yeah. Exactly.
Considering it was made by some of the same creators,
right?
Not surprised at all. And in fact, the outfit of the all black leather ensemble, I think, is actually supposed to be a reference to A Boy and His Dog, if I remember correctly.
Really? Not Mad Max?
Not Mad Max?
Okay.
I'm trying to no, because the thing is, it's like a black. If I remember reading the description correctly, it's kind of like a black coat, and the comment that's made is like, this is definitely not what somebody's going to wear if they're going to actually survive in the desert, like just to survive in the middle of the wasteland. Like, it's just not going to work.
Okay.
Simply offering some iguana on a stick or wearing a leather jacket similar to his previous owner will have Dogmeat joining your party.
Oh, that's it?
Very simple.
That's too simple.
Very simple. But to be honest, with almost every dog, it's super easy to get them in the Fallout series. As we're going to go through.
I mean, yeah, Fallout 4 is very easy.
Yeah, and I think one of the things about this is that all the time we were making this great game, the creators understand that you intrinsically, as a human being, will have some sort of connection to dogs. There are very few human beings, even if you're not a quote-unquote dog person, who are just going to be like, forget your dog. I don't get it. I don't understand why you think that I'd want a dog.
Right.
Okay. We have co-evolved for so long. It's just a natural inclination.
Right.
In terms of gameplay, Dogmeat is a strong ally in combat, but not one that will take to your orders. He will do what he wants in terms of battles, and you just have to hope that it works. The only way to disband Dogmeat from the group is for him to die. Just know this is kind of a permanent addition once you take Dogmeat on. And you can shoot him out Yeller style if you're really tired of the dog,
geez.
but why? Just why? The original Dogmeat makes a return in Fallout 2 in a special encounter called the Cafe of Broken Dreams. If you enter and you see Dogmeat, you can reveal your Vault 13 jumpsuit and have them join the party again, only stronger and faster than before. In fact, the stats are so much higher, it's kind of almost like a joke how beefed up this version of Dogmeat is. Some suggest that this should not be canon because the Cafe of Broken Dreams is just a jokey callback to the original game, reusing the Vault Dweller sprites they had previously. I'll let the audience decide how they feel about that.
Oh no, an asset reuse in a game?
Oh, quelle horreur. Like, it's yeah. And I think that's the whole point, is it's kind of a joke. Now that the Chosen One is...
Not asset reuse. God forbid we ever talk about Dragon
so,
Age 2.
Funny enough, they actually bring back a reference to Dogmeat even in Arcanum.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. So, I mean...
I believe it.
Yeah, the idea of Dogmeat's kind of been floating around a bit at this point. But that is not the only dog companion available in Fallout 2. If you meet and aid former Enclave scientist Dr. Henry in Shady Sands, which I think involves assassinating one of his former Enclave colleagues, he will repay you by activating a robodog he's worked on recently and gifting it to the Chosen One. However, the dog will not stick around if you are a child killer. Interesting side note, in both Fallout 1 and 2,
you could kill kids.
You could kill children.
Couldn't do that once Bethesda took over.
Well, so funny story. I was reading up on it because they let it be an option, but they also let it be essentially a trait that you would gain that would be a detriment. So if you killed either up to 2 or 3 children in a game, and some children were counted as double due to a glitch in Fallout 2, you had a reputation of being a child killer. There were certain people who wouldn't join you, not only Robodog, but certain other companions. There were shops that wouldn't sell to you. There were places that would chase you down and try to kill you because you were a child killer. And in America, it just had to have that high, like NC-17 rating or something like that. In Europe, they wouldn't sell it.
Oh, geez.
So what they had to do to get it distributed in Europe, they just deleted all the children characters. In Fallout 2 in particular, they knew about it so late, they kind of had to hand wave it and just have a fourth wall breaking conversation, acknowledge the fact that there are no children, even though there's references to children. So.
And then I think probably when it came to Fallout 3, even if they wanted to do it, it would have been so graphic that it would have been too much.
No, you know.
Once it goes 3D, it's a different beast.
There are a lot of games who have done certain things to try to make sure that they're not associated with the ne'er-do-wells of our world. And one of them is any reference to any kind of violent act against children.
Yeah, it's a good thing for your bad guy to have, in their story, not as an action you see them doing.
Right.
But it's not something you want the player, the good guys or the player-controlled characters doing.
It's not anything that you also want to encourage in the real world.
Right.
Because, God forbid...
Right. But it's like, it's one of those things you hear for bad guys once in a while. So
yeah. So it was something, the thing was, they were trying to play with that whole, it's your choice, you can choose how you play your character. The morally
gray character.
Yeah, and that's always been kind of true in Fallout, that you can play with the shades of gray available, but only in Fallout 1 or 2 they have it. After Fallout 2, that could have been the end of dog companions in the series. Originally, Dogmeat wasn't supposed to return in Fallout 3. Black Isle's prisoner escape facilitating a plague doomsday plot did not put a dog to accompany the main companion. And I don't know if anybody's read what Black Isle's version of Fallout 3 was supposed to be. It is bonkers. It involves plagues, mastermind scientists escaping from prison. It didn't sound Fallout-esque to me, but maybe it's just because I never had a chance to play it.
That sounds like Fallout's version of Elder Scrolls. Is it Elder Scrolls Legends Redguard or whatever, where it's more linear, it's more...
I don't think it would have been linear. I think it just would have been a different take on who your hero would have been. And it seemed like some of the art that they had for that game was referencing Escape from New York, which I don't...
Okay, yeah.
So, stuff like that. However, this all changed once Bethesda was developing the game. They decided that this Dogmeat would be presumed descendant of the dog found in the original game, one whose fate was to die due to a quote-unquote force field accident.
That's also across the country, isn't it?
Well, Fallout 3 takes place...
That dog's descendants has seen some travel.
Yes. Yes. But it's about 100-year difference, right? Am I remembering that correctly? I'd have to look at the timeline
I
again.
do know it's long enough for the Brotherhood of Steel to have gotten across that as well.
Right.
So it's not impossible.
Right. So, found in the scrapyard of the Capital Wasteland fighting off the raiders that killed his previous owner, this Dogmeat quickly becomes loyal to the lone wanderer. All you have to do is start a conversation and invite him to follow you. So, this version of Dogmeat is actually much more clever than the original, with the ability to go out and fetch items to bring them back to the lone wanderer. These items can include food, ammo, and weapons. Although a loyal guard dog, he's not the smartest when it comes to attacking. Dogmeat will strike at the strongest and toughest enemies in a battle, but is easily taken down by them. Like the original, once he dies, he's dead for good. Which I find to be a problem in a lot of Bethesda games. The same thing in Elder Scrolls happens all the time. I don't like playing Skyrim with a dog because then the dog eventually will die and not come back.
Yeah, I remember Miko is a dog.
Yeah.
And I got him one time and he was so nice and so cute and everything. And then the very first thing that he ran to was a bandit fort and he died.
Yes. Yeah, they do not last long in that game. I just need to get the mod where the puppies never die.
Yeah, Barbas is cool in that game though.
Isn't that the one where it's...
That's the one that's the... Oh, it was so fun. I haven't listened to the episodes on the Daedric Princes in so long. That was Clavicus Vile.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the one that can actually talk to you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The Broken Steel DLC, however, brought the perk called Puppies!
Puppies!
This would mean if Dogmeat died, one of his quote-unquote puppies would find you to replace him beefier than his father and ready for battle.
So Dogmeat got around?
Yes.
Okay.
Dogmeat got around. This puppy would be available a day or two after the demise of its predecessor outside the doors of Vault 101. Funnily enough, if you command Dogmeat to wait for you at Megaton and then blow up the city like an absolutely evil person would do.
I've never done that.
Nah, it's not even blowing up the city, that you leave your loyal dog in the city you're going to blow up.
I mean, blowing up the city is not much better.
No, it's not much better. But if you leave him there and blow up Megaton, Dogmeat will survive and meet you outside of the ruins.
Did he hide in the fridge?
Maybe. Let's just say he does. Let's just say he knew. He saw the evil intent in your eyes and hid in the fridge. There is a non-Dogmeat entry in the list, which is probably the most unique of the dog companions available in the series. In Fallout New Vegas, you can meet the King, who is the leader of the gang, named the Kings. Which, now, side note, Kings are my favorite gang because they're a fantastic representation of how history warps legacy. The gang found an Elvis impersonator school and thought it was a place of worship for someone who only went by the King.
I don't think I ever ran across these guys.
They are in Freeside,
which I've been to, but maybe I did run across them, but never got into it enough to get to the joke.
It's so hilarious. I love it. Their leader is the one who exemplifies the King the best. Like, that voice actor actually almost sounds like, he won't 100% sound like Elvis, but he's got that standard deep,
gets the point, gets
voice there.
It good enough.
And then the King is there with like the white jacket and the dark shirt underneath, and it's just so brilliant. Yeah, exactly. And they honestly believe that they need to all be like the King. When you meet the King, the leader of the Kings, he has a strange-looking dog standing beside him. For those who haven't seen Rex, he is a dog with a metal portion of his torso and spine, as well as 3 out of 4 legs having been reconstructed. His brain is installed into a dome secured atop his skull. Even for someone like the courier, who is used to living in the Mojave wasteland, this is not something you see every day.
So it's a canine robo-brain?
It's a canine cyber dog. It's a cyber dog.
Is it a dog brain?
Yes.
Okay, so it's like a robo-brain.
It's a protected brain, I think. Like, robo-brain makes me think of it's a computer.
Well, robo-brains are actually in Fallout.
You're talking about the
brain in
machines.
a jar that's been brainwashed and stuff, and yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I wouldn't say this is necessarily brainwashed, but
probably a similar tech though.
Yeah. Yes, similar tech. One thing I didn't add to my notes, but was something I found out, was that the same company who would make these cyber dogs also made a gun with a dog's brain in it.
What?
For police. And it actually had little ears that would perk up when you pointed towards something that it was trying to smell.
What? The gun shoots bullets.
Yeah, no, it's a gun, but it's a gun with a dog brain in it.
What does the dog's brain do in it?
I think it's also supposed to help detect evidence or something like that.
Why would you cram that into? Why would you cram
There's
that?
a lot of really dumb product design that Fallout just like goes to the nines with.
I mean, yeah, there's always classic ones like the Mr. Handy.
Well, yes.
Yeah,
but getting back to Rex, the King explains that he found him dinged up with the salvager and took him in. If the courier asks why he doesn't look too good, the King explains he has some spells where he's not doing so well here and there. You can decide whether or not you want to investigate further, which of course I highly suggest you do. After speaking with not only the King, but Julie Farkas of the Followers of the Apocalypse, you understand that Rex needs to be revitalized with specialized procedures. If the courier has the trust of the King, he asks you to take Rex to visit Dr. Henry, who lives in the super mutant settlement of Jacobstown. Yes, this is the same Dr. Henry who you met in Fallout 2 and may have gifted the Chosen One a robo-dog. So some quick sidebars while we're talking about this mission, if you're not entirely lost, Mystic.
I was a little lost on who the Followers of the Apocalypse were for a second, then I remembered.
Yes. For those of you who do need to know, all you need to know about the Followers of the Apocalypse in this episode is that their mission is a humanitarian one, and spreading medical knowledge and resources is something that they try to do frequently on top of some other, benefits to society. I want to say we've mentioned them
in one of our Fallout episodes already.
They may have been mentioned, but we haven't focused on them. They're a group worthy of an episode or two because they span throughout the majority of the series.
I'll leave that one to you.
It makes sense that they would know some minor veterinary information and why the King would think to bring his dog there. Mm-hmm. So that's why they got involved in Julie.
So we're at Dr. Henry now, who is a...
Well, I haven't finished with my sidebars. For those who missed our explanation in episode 21, super mutants are humans who were introduced to a virus in a government program to become stronger, tougher fighters in war. There's a type of super mutant called Nightkin who uses stealth boys when sent to battle previously. And Dr. Henry is in Jacobstown studying what the prolonged effects of using a stealth boy could be. Nightkin do have a tendency of going absolutely mad. Just bonkers.
Right.
Just one of the missions you can get in Fallout New Vegas is that the farmer in Novak, it just keeps losing his Brahmin, essentially his two-headed cattle, if you don't know what a Brahmin is. Keeps losing his Brahmin at night, and he doesn't know why. And you figure out there's a certain time to watch, and you can watch, and it turns out it's a Nightkin who has a note and basically is convinced that there's some horrible noise that comes from all the Brahmin, and it has to kill them every night so they can sleep. It's just... These guys are absolutely balls to the wall, completely insane.
Is Lily a Nightkin?
Yes.
No. She is?
Yes,
Okay.
I believe she is.
Because she's
She
not only is she old,
yes,
but she's a little bonkers.
She's bonkers, but she's an adorable, manageable bonkers, and I don't know if that's due to Dr. Henry's work. So while you're on your way to, or at least you're given now this mission to meet Dr. Henry, Rex becomes a companion of the courier. The decent melee attacker. I like traveling with him and Eddie when going across the wasteland, which covers your distance and your short range attacks all at the same time. So for those of you who don't know, Eddie is actually an Enclave floating robot.
Yeah. That's
an attack bot. So Eddie is basically just pew pew laser guns. And then you have Rex, who's just melee. And if you're just like, I'm not here to have conversations with characters. I'm just here to fight in the wasteland. They're a great team up. So it's just this, you're a lone human with your dog and your robot. And Eddie has the best little, like, whenever you actually get a kill and win, I say he because his name is Eddie, but it's a robot.
Isn't it Ed? Isn't it ED-E?
Yes. But Ed E has a great little victory song, like da 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 da.
Oh yes, I remember this now because I would hear it all the time.
It was my text tone for a while. Just keep in mind that the king warns you that Rex hates hats, so he doesn't respond well if you have one on.
Huh. Okay.
It's this great little thing where a couple things you should know before you take him on, and then the king goes, he hates rats, can't stand the thing. We'll attack him on sight. We'll run away and get him. Another thing, he hates hats. Don't know why. Maybe it's because it sounds like rats. It's just the dumbest. There's just all these fun little asides in New Vegas, which is why I love it so much. So if you look over Rex, there are hints as to what he was up to before becoming a companion of the king. The suit, or I should say, the apparatus that makes him a cyberdog, the metal body and torso, hints to a pre-war canine unit career where Rex was a regular police dog before being transformed into a cyberdog. Before the bombs dropped, cyberdogs were used in affluent police departments to help sniff out local communists.
Oh, gee.
Mm-hmm. You can also see on the side of Rex's metal torso a fading image of a Red Bull. This alludes to a history with Caesar's Legion having fought with the ferocious canine troops there. This must have happened prior to the king having taken in Rex, and probably before whatever salvager he talked to found Rex. If you decide to help Rex with his health and take him to Dr. Henry, the diagnosis is that the brain is failing and will need to be replaced. Apparently, keeping it in goo is not a permanent solution.
Especially after that long.
Yes, it's been a very long time. The courier can choose either the brain of an old guard dog, which is, there's this old lady who has a junkyard and she breeds dogs, and there's one that's a little old, and you can either pay her or charm her into giving you the brain of her beloved pet. Oh, and she'll be like, oh, come here. And then literally you hear, ow! And suddenly that dog is just a blood spot, and you have a brain. You can also get a brain of an older dog from the armies of Caesar's Legion, which that one you get by talking to the breeder who talks about how his tribe that was absorbed by Caesar's Legion used to be really into dogs because they were in Denver where there were a ton of dogs, including these cybernetic dogs.
Okay.
And he'll point out to this breeding dog where she's given a lot of ferocious pups, and he goes, "Oh, you could take her, but you just have to kill her in combat to take the brain." Because that's such a Caesar's Legion thing.
I hate Caesar's Legion.
Right. Or a fiend dog that is the prize of her raider trainer, Violet. So, literally named Violetta. So, and this is just, you don't even have a conversation. You just go there and kill the raider and all the dogs, including Violetta, who then, as soon as you kill that dog, you get the brain.
Ew.
Yeah, and it's a fiend dog. It's not a attractive dog.
I'll go with the junkyard one.
Right. That was the one I went with in my game because I had met that character already.
Oh, okay.
Old Mrs. Gibson. Old Lady Gibson, and they'd be like, "Well, why do they call you that?" And she goes, "Well, I used to just be called Miss Gibson, so I'll let you do the work." Anyway, she's a cute character, and she'll give you the dog if you charm her. And each one of those brains actually will bestow different perks.
I can imagine that. Yeah.
Yeah. Dr. Henry will replace the brain successfully. The courier can report back the good news, only to be invited to keep Rex at his side. Or her side, I should say, as a reward for having saved the king's good buddy. Rex can even be used in a main plotline mission to sniff out an assassin in the quest. You'll know it when it happens, which is actually part of the main plot.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Yeah. While you could play the whole game and never get the brain transplant for your cyberdog, the procedure ensures Rex will survive past the epilogue and the end credits. Otherwise, after that, Rex will die of old age. Or you could have killed off all of the kings and Rex just died in the game.
Oh, geez.
But there's no point in that. I think Rex is my favorite of the dogs because of the fact he's the most sci-fi inspired one, which is to say, in some ways, he's the opposite of the last iteration of Dogmeat we'll talk about in this episode. When Burgess did his tribute to Rivers' contribution to Fallout 4, the one thing he mentioned was that Dogmeat was meant to be just as out of place as the main character, and hence your bond. To quote a Twitter thread, "The strange thing about Dogmeat is that there's nothing strange about Dogmeat."
Yeah, that's true. Dogmeat is very much a fish out of water, almost like you are. Like,
Yeah.
you find Dogmeat almost immediately, at a gas station, if I remember correctly.
Yes, exactly.
Or whatever, fuel station or whatever.
But this version of Dogmeat actually has a better established history than the other versions of Dogmeat mentioned. The sole survivor can receive the quest Greet the Dog when meeting Dogmeat for the first time at the Red Rocket truck stop. Again, a simple introduction to Dog will suffice.
Oh, that's a bad joke.
Isn't it?
That's a bad joke.
We're not explaining. If you don't know if you don't know that joke, just leave it be.
That's a bad joke.
Again, a simple introduction to the dog will suffice to be able to invite the canine along with you. At this point, they are simply known as Dog. It's not until you take them on the quest When Freedom Calls that you realize that Dogmeat's name is actually Dogmeat. Mama Murphy, one of the settlers that is hunkered down with Preston Garvey, will reveal his full name. Hilarious performance, by the way, because she's a drug-addled fortune teller. Yeah, it's hilarious to hear her talk about it. It turns out that he was sent to find help while the settlers were trapped by the raiders. Later on, when you enlist the help of the synth detective Nick Valentine to find the sole survivor's son, Dogmeat will help track down the son of the dangerous Kellogg. Nick mentions that as long as he likes a person, Dogmeat is willing to help out. It's suggested that Dogmeat has not only helped Nick Valentine solve cases in the past, but has also helped with the Minutemen as well before meeting the sole survivor.
Really?
Yeah, there is some suggestion that, he's worked with Preston Garvey.
Because there was I remember reading a theory or watching a YouTube video before we started doing this that Dogmeat was possibly a synth?
There are just essentially in the game allusions to what Dogmeat could be, and there's not really a lot of facts to back it up. It's intentionally vague. according to Burgess, literally said, we do not have an origin story for Dogmeat.
Okay.
Very intentionally so. Despite this history, Dogmeat's origins are entirely unknown. So there's theories, but nothing confirmed. He's described as, quote unquote, being his own man with no true owner. Although somewhat loyal to Nick Valentine, it suggested he hasn't stayed with one human until the sole survivor showed up. Burgess confirmed that the background for Dogmeat has been made intentionally vague, so it's up to the player to decide what is the origin of the lone German Shepherd found in the Commonwealth. In the game, Dogmeat is like the one in Fallout 3 in that he can be commanded to fetch random items to bring them back. This is also sometimes done unprompted by the sole survivor. He's also a little smarter in combat, again inspired by River. The way Dogmeat engages in combat is not to full-on attack like Dogmeat in Fallout 3. Instead, this Dogmeat will distract the main target in battle in order to have the sole survivor take care of the rest of the battle. He's also the stealthiest of the companions stat-wise. So, and I have to appreciate in this Twitter thread, to essentially commemorate River.
Mm-hmm.
Burgess mentions there were little character traits that they realized were very intrinsic to the breed, so they wanted to make sure that they highlighted them. And one of them was Dogmeat's walk pattern is not just by your side. Dogmeat will walk ahead, kind of like scout ahead, and then come back and check in with you, and then walk ahead again. And that was one of the things River did, and the developers saw it. And that was some of the other quirks of, even the voice, like literally River was the voice actor for Dogmeat, and they had to do some things, including like make her worried about Joel Burgess, so she would whimper and whine and yelp.
All right.
But then he would come back and they would use the same, like her excited, like, oh my God, you're back. My favorite human is back, like barks as well.
I'm curious how they got the injured sounds then.
That they might not have done. I don't think they would have done that.
Or if they did, they could have been, like, we have a friend who has a dog, and the way he trained her was to, like, you poke the side and it makes him yelp.
Yeah, and they could have just did that.
Like that, yeah.
I think it's just for us, Mystic and I, we know that most voice acting for animals is done by a person. So, like in The Sims and things like that.
I remember watching a video of the guy who does the lions from Lion King and seeing, like, he would roar into a trash can. That's how they got, like, the big sound and everything. So, yeah.
Yeah, so it's really unique way to commemorate a dog. So in that way, kind of like River's been immortalized forever. And thank you, Joel Burgess, for your tweet, because that kind of inspired this episode. And that's all I have. I just wanted to focus on the companions. I figured like we don't need to get into like the enemies that are dogs.
No, because I can't think of any that were named.
They have mutant dogs and they have fiend dogs.
Right, but there's not like a named dog that's a fiend, I don't think.
And there are also,
Could be wrong.
In Fallout 4, because of the settlement mechanic, there are dogs you can get to join your settlements.
But they're all like mutant dogs or feral dogs.
No, there's actually a dog breeder that will walk around and
okay.
The first time you meet him, he will sell you the dog he has, but the next time it's like he may or he may not.
I remember that guy makes me feel so sad.
Because he gets attached to the dogs, which of course he does. I mean, if you're a good breeder, you do. So he gets attached to the dogs, and then he may or he may not sell the dog to you. But the first time you meet him, he will. And then I think there's a couple of places where there's some
are they actual dogs, like Dogmeat dogs, or are they?
Yeah,
like
none of them will be German Shepherds.
Right.
Dogmeat is the only German Shepherd in Fallout 4.
I thought Dogmeat was only a dog until I only have seen the dog breeder recently, like in a more recent playthrough.
I think the rest of them are like usually something like a modeled off a Rottweiler.
Oh, okay.
So but the companion dogs are the ones that come with you, and I just, especially considering, the tweet we reshared, I wanted to do this episode, and it's a shorter one, but I hope you all enjoyed it.
I did.
Well,
Doggies.
You're a dog person in general, so yeah, and Dogmeat is just I mean, I don't think in the future you can do another, like, you can't have like a Fallout 5, 6, or 7 without a Dogmeat or a Dogmeat replacement at
That's
this
true.
point. You know, even in New Vegas, they had Rex. Rex was still
A Dogmeat.
a dog. And even though they were Cyberdog, they weren't like super souped up. There wasn't any like telepathic link or able to talk or able to solve puzzles. They were
Too simple. Too much.
Yeah, they were basically just a dog that had lived centuries because they were souped up. A souped up dog, really.
A dive into the human or humanoid companions might be interesting too.
Well, yeah, there are other companion groups that I've considered that.
Kind of like how I broke down the Daedra.
Yes.
You know, you can break. Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Well, if you guys have any opinions about that, you know, feel free to, again, I'm on the Discord for Boss Rush Games on our chat for Lore Together, but I'm also generally there talking with other people. You can also hit us up on the Twitter or email us, as we mentioned earlier. We love suggestions. We love hearing from you. And we love you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mystic, do you know what you're doing next time?
I have a couple options, so I'm going to actually let you do this on air.
Oh.
Do you want an espionage game or a platforming game?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. Which one's going to be more suffering for people to live stream and look at?
Both, for different reasons.
Oh.
One is old, and one is an old game that runs weirdly, and one is a platformer. Sorry, first-person platformer. So it's like your two least favorite things combined.
Let's do the espionage one.
That's okay. The one after that will be the platformer.
Oh, I hate you. I hate you so much right now. Okay. Well, and with that, thank you for listening. We will catch you next time.
Catch you next time. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.